And here's the garden tour for July 31st, 2021. There's my lounge chair where I suntan. And that's the TARDIS little mini greenhouse. And you can see both of those fans. They're going in slow-mo. This vine I eliminated today. It was invasive. And I have no idea what it is. It looks like it's a bean, but it's not. It's not really a bean plant. And here are some flowers. We should be getting into super slow-mo, yeah, right about now. So as you can see, this is a massive amount of overgrowth. And intermixed in here are everything from all of those purplish flowers, which are, if we get close enough, you'll see the bees are all over those. That's the the flowering of the oregano plants, and the bees just seem to love those. And I've also got some, I guess, some marigolds in here, but also peppers. There's some banana peppers that are coming into the lower right hand frame right now. And I apologize for having the camera in the upright position. I don't know why I did that, and there's nothing we can do at this stage except crop it. And I also see that you could see, because there's the iPhone I took this with, and you could see it's in the upright position. So we're pretty much, what you see is what you get. It's unfortunate. I apologize. It's been a while since I've done one of these. Look at that bee we caught. A bumblebee heading towards the oregano. I think a little bit later on I did get closer to some of the, where you can see some honeybees doing their business. I mean, if you look really closely, if you're watching this on like a TV, a bigger screen, you could probably make out some more bees on those there. And in the foreground are where these are like these super marigold plants, hybrids or whatever. Seems like I'm spending a lot of time here because I was trying to capture the bees. There's a little butterfly, kind of mothy looking thing. It's kind of very graceful in slow motion, isn't it? Look at it flap its wings. Yeah. A lot of people don't like those because they eat the leaves of certain plants, but I haven't. I see a couple of them, every day, and they don't seem to bother anything in my garden. You can see a little bit inside my little mini greenhouse there too. And we're back at looking at some of these pepper plants. But man, I had a lot of oregano. Like it was a crazy amount of oregano. That was just one big bush. And now it's been, it's just, well, it's going to go to seed and it's going to grow back big next year. I just have to keep on it. I lost, it always happens about this time of year as it gets toward the end of July. I'm so busy with things that I end up, just letting things get overgrown. And it doesn't really bother me because I've been getting a very good yield this year. I had lettuce, like, well, I still can pull some lettuce off. But I mean, I had lettuce right up to, to a week ago. And these are tomato plants. And I've already picked a couple dozen tomatoes. And as you'll see as we get into these plants here, and these are like Better Boy, and uh, maybe there's a beefsteak tomato plant in there. But you can see how big those tomatoes are growing. And we'll also see some that are starting to turn red out here. I'm just not taking any more tomatoes in the house right now because I have about a dozen inside that are already ripe. In fact, I just finished. I took a flour, like a tortilla wrap, and Slice the tomato up. There you can see some tomatoes turning red there. But yeah, I'll slice up a tomato, chopped up some kale, put a little olive oil, turmeric with some black pepper, slice of Swiss cheese, a little mayo, and and chopped up garlic. The mayo kind of, you don't really get an overpowering garlic taste. Put a little olive oil on it. And that's like a medicinal sandwich, but it's very tasty. These tomatoes are so tasty. So again, I'm in the shadow, or I'm making a shadow from the sun. The sun is behind me. I figured it out about this point. So once we get through this, well, till I turn around, you won't see the monstrosity of a shadow covering these things. But very happy with the tomatoes this year. It looks like I'll end up with, I don't know, count wise. It's hard to say. I mean, maybe 72, maybe 100 some tomatoes. I don't know. Whatever they would be pound wise. There's a little honeybee there at the bottom. So this year worked out very well. I just had just enough flowering plants to attract the honeybees. You can see some red stuff deep in there. I didn't even notice those before. I may have to pick them if they're that red. It looks like they're very red. There's some very red tomatoes down at the bottom there. Down towards the, yeah, yeah. Well, we'll get to those tomorrow. I'm in for the day. Yeah, so the tomatoes have been very productive this year, and I'm happy with that. But you can see it's like a massive overgrowth, and like I said, I don't really care. At this point, there's really no reason to. I don't. I've been giving some tomatoes away. I gave quite a bit away. So it's like I have enough to give away. I have more than enough to eat. So, why go in there and better manage the plants at this point to produce even more and more, because it almost go to waste. I don't really can tomatoes or do any of that saucing thing. So besides, like I said, I'm going to have so many tomatoes, and this is the last day of July. So, we're getting into September, and they'll still be blooming I'll probably still be getting tomatoes into September, so I'm not worried about that. I have some Roma tomatoes that we didn't see on the other side. So as far as like sauce and some other stuff, I'll have the ability for that. This is another tomato plant. This is in a mixture of, it's pretty much gone to seed as well, but this wasn't like a square gardening originally area that I've allowed the tomato plant to take over. But in there's some parsley, which has gone to seed. There was cilantro, which has become seed, or coriander. And you'll see a lot of these bigger leaves are basically sage, which I'll dry that out. And then you can see there's another field of oregano here. And that's been keeping the bees real happy, along with these big flowers. These are all seeds I've saved from last year, so I've finally learned to do that. Underneath that plastic thing, it's been removed since this video, is some chard, and it's coming up. So I'll have chard in September. I'll probably plant some more chard. Oh, actually, I do have some chard growing in the greenhouse. So I'm hoping to get some more chard starts in, so that I'll have chard in September. Well, I'll still have tomatoes, so I could have tomato and chard sandwich. And of course, this is kale here. These kale plants haven't gotten crazy, but I've been picking a leaf or two off every day. I mean, I'm just one guy, and a friend of mine comes down every now and then, and I give her I always, especially when I had the lettuce. I had a ton of lettuce this year. I'll fill a big bag of lettuce and some kale for her. And she got a bunch of tomatoes too. So yeah, this has been a really good year. I'm very happy with it. But you can see it's out of control. But it's like, it's a sweet confusion. It's crazy. And over towards, we're heading into the area where I have some sunflower seeds or sunflower plants, and along with my zucchini and a summer squash plant. And hopefully, I hope I look over in that direction. I shot this thing like when I first went out about almost 2 hours ago, so I kind of forget what order I did what in. I was basking in the sun getting my vitamin D for about an hour. So I don't know. I may not have gone over there. I hope I did. You got to see these other plants. I guess I was trying to capture some of the honeybees in slow mo here, and hopefully we see if we got any here. That's what I was doing now that I remember. There's a bee right there. It's kind of a bumblebee though. A little out of focus. This is an older iPhone. But yeah, the bees have been very happy this year, that's for sure. But look at all that oregano. I mean, you can't imagine how much oregano. I mean, it's grown wild. It's growing like a weed everywhere because there's so many seeds. It's gone to seed, and there's been so many bees actively doing this because it blossomed in June, or so I mean, so it's like this has been going on for a while. Yeah, here's a close up of a honeybee, but it's a little out of focus. Well, a lot out of focus. But they're digging this, and it's there's that oregano is so sweet. So this particular this seems to be the most popular bee, you know, flowering plant this year, even over top of the so-called flowers themselves. So it must be quite the sweet pollen that the honeybees are, so going crazy. I mean, at times, and it's like again, it's hard to pick up with the phone, but at times they're like, here we go. There's a honeybee. I see a honeybee's going to another one. It's coming at me. But at times, literally, there's like 100 of them or something, or who knows how many, you know, in there. So I have no idea what I'm doing now. Why I would have gone up like this. That's a fence that I've covered up that leads to a neighbor's property, and I don't know why I would have shown that. There's nothing to see there. Here we go now. Finally. Okay, so you see the sunflowers have decided not to grow really tall. Yeah, I guess they've decided that the sun, this is their best, safest sunspot to get the most. So there they are. They just kind of popped out lately. That's like a bean thing in the foreground. You can see, if you look really closely down in the squash, you can see the yellow squash. That's like the summer yellow squash. And oddly enough, that's the left side plant because the plant on the right is where I already got, I think, two zucchinis out of. And I have another zucchini that I plant in another location that I got one out of. They seem to be growing well, but they're not producing an awful lot. We haven't had much rain here, so I've been, watering the garden myself, and there's nothing for zucchinis. It just seems to me from previous experience, it's like when you get those all day rains, that's when the zucchinis really just come out. They balloon. And sometimes it almost seems like it's overnight. There is some rain predicted tomorrow. I'm hoping for it. And there's a zinnia on the left of the sunflowers. They're like baby sunflowers, you know. Some more bees floating around. And this was all my red lettuce and some potato plants that have all bolted. So I've just left them there. I'm going to let them go to seeds and collect them because they were very tasty. It was really great lettuce, and I had 2 months of it. So I'm allowing these to bolt, and I'm going to collect those seeds. That's my new thing now. I've starting to instead of buying seeds, I'm starting to do my own seed collection and planting my own seeds. And in here are some hybrid marigold plants that are about ready to bloom too, next to the zinnia. You can tell by the leaves. I guess at this point I was trying to get a photo on that yellow squash, but it didn't work out. But anyway, you get to see. Yeah, you can see these they're ready to bloom. Plenty of flowers on those squash plants. They're just not, they're just not a lot I'm just not producing an awful lot this year, and I just think it's because of I'm not getting enough water. I don't have an irrigation system. I basically use the old hose system. The early part of the summer, we had a lot. These are potato plants, these sickly looking things. I've already harvested a couple of dozen potatoes, but this crop here in this area, I haven't dug those out yet. So I'll get around to it. I set up a station and I'll leave a still picture of it at the end of the video, I think. I think I have that photo of it for washing potatoes and carrots and things like that. I really won't do that I'm going to hold off on that till next month. The end of next month, probably. I find the potatoes I don't really have any kind of rodent problem or anything. See, here's some of the red lettuce. I could still pick a few leaves or two, and there's some green lettuce in there too, but it gets a little bitter at this point. And there's a bean plant that's starting to take over that spot, which I'm happy and fine with. And here you could see like oregano plants are growing up like weeds along this my little path to the house. And I'm just letting them there. They're oregano and they smell really nice. And that little area just beyond the white little fence is a pond that I built, which the birds use to get a drink and take baths in. And so I have a bird feeder, so it's kind of a self-sufficient yard. The bird feeder's further up in the yard, and it just keeps them out of the garden. And I guess this looks like the end if we're speeding up. There's my carrots. And I guess there's some more tomatoes. And I don't know if we're going to make it in time to see there's the other zucchini plant. I don't know why it sped up just all of a sudden. That usually means just the end of the video. And here's yep. And we were about to see my apple tree.